Hi, and welcome to the 50 Shades of Blonde show. I'm Missy Day.
Jill Branson.
And you know, one of the coolest things about our show that I love is we actually have sponsors who sponsor our show, and we get to highlight, oh, look at how cool your logo looks.
I love that logo.
That is really pretty.
We get to highlight our sponsors, and so Deborah Betts is joining us today from She Owns Nutrition for Life. So welcome to the show, Deborah Betts.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
We're very happy to have you.
And thank you so much for being a sponsor. We appreciate
Yes.
It is my honor.
Aw,
Awesome.
Thank you.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
All right. Yay. Lots of love and rainbows.
And speaking of rainbow, no.
So we're here to talk. So let's talk about a woman who gets out there and makes stuff happen.
Boy, no kidding.
That would be Deborah. So let's say you have a business and you have a podcast that launched and you're writing a book, and is it next week?
Next week.
Next week, her and her husband are having a show, and you want to tell everybody what the name of the show is?
The name of the show is Chew on This. Chew on This.
How
As
cute
cute
is
as that?
Name? I just love it.
It might be a little bit of nutrition. It might be food for thought, like just to, because we all get so stuck in our way of thinking and our paradigm, we don't often look at the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And so how is it that we might look at the other side to see a different point of view, or open our minds to something that may benefit us that we're currently closed off to?
So let's talk a little bit about that. So let's talk a little bit about the business, and then the podcast, the book.
Yeah.
Let's
I'm
update
anxious
us on
to
the
hear.
book.
The book is in the almost done writing stage.
Oh.
Oh, maybe I should include this. You know that whole thing about you need to know when enough is enough?
Yes, because pretty soon your book is going to be this
I'm working on
big.
Yeah.
No, it's getting close to completion. I'm excited to get it off to the editors and the person working on the cover. So that's, it's one of those things like, I've heard people talk about, it's like giving birth.
Mm.
Only instead of a 9-month, sometimes it's extended labor. So.
You keep saying, oh my God, when's it going to be over?
It's been a wonderful process. They say everybody has a book in them. And I always wanted to write a book. I just didn't know what I wanted to write it about. And this topic I'm more responding to the topic that's bursting within me than just saying, oh, I want to write about this. So it's more of born out of a passion to encourage people to really take a look at what it is. If they're not as healthy as they want to be, why is that? What are those things that might be at play? And environmentally, or our own choices or daily habits, and not waiting for anybody else to tell us how to do it, but take personal responsibility for the actions that we take. Because we don't wake up. One of the things that I hear people fear the most is that diagnosis. Cancer, MS, lupus, diabetes,
Right.
any of those things. But we don't wake up one day and have that. It might be
No.
diagnosed in one day,
Exactly.
but it's those actions that we choose to do today. What we eat, what we drink, what we put on our skin, the air that we breathe, all those things our stress level, all those things play a role in the diseases that we may or may not have down the road. And so it's taking personal responsibility today and taking those daily actions that will give us the optimal health in the future, so we can live in happiness and health.
Amen.
Amen. And if we'd only known this 20, 30 years ago, you know what I mean? Because we didn't really think of that. People just didn't sit around and think about what they were eating.
Well,
They're in a hurry.
I think the numbers I heard were there's $100 billion spent so far on the war on cancer. 95 million is spent every year on medical research, and yet we seem to be growing exponentially in degenerative illness, cancers and diabetes and those things. So what is it? And I do think it's just that personal responsibility, and it's preventative medicine is the cure. And we have to take personal responsibility for that.
Right. I agree. So let's talk about your podcast.
The podcast is a little bit based on the book, but it's I interview people, experts and medical professionals, experts in the field. The first podcast is actually a very dear friend. She's a doula. She's a massage therapist. She teaches massage. She homeschools 4 children. She's a pastor's wife. And yet it's really important to her to raise her children up to be healthy. And what does that look like in her life? And so we have a great conversation about how health plays a role in her family and even some of the struggles, because it's not easy to stay focused on being healthy.
So tell everybody what the name of your book is.
Yes, this is another good one.
The name of the book is Wake the Health Up. Because it's true, we have to wake up to those realities around us that are keeping us from being as healthy as we would like to be.
Right. So what would you say, because, we know you very well, but we want everybody else to know you very well. So what is the motivating factor behind you being so passionate about teaching people how to eat better?
Well, I think there's several, but for example, my mom died 23 years ago this month, and she passed away from complications of diabetes. And diabetes is a reversible, preventable illness. But yet, what I remember of her disease is the doctors, this is her interpretation and what I heard from it. The doctor said, eat whatever you want, take your blood sugar, and if you need more insulin, take more insulin. Well, that's a recipe for disaster. And my daughter had cancer, my husband's had cancer, I had, multiple illnesses and a seizure disorder. And so it was that journey that for my own health and the health of my family, that I just discovered things that I didn't know, and I wanted my friends to know so they didn't have to go through the devastating illnesses that my family went through. And when breaks my heart when I have a very close friend who comes and says, I have breast cancer. And it's even more devastating when the friend passes away. But those are illnesses that whether you conquer them or you go home to glory, they're all life-altering. It's life-altering decisions and consequences. And so why not start today and change your behaviors today to make a better outcome for tomorrow? We can't for sure know what goes on tomorrow because so many things play a role, including environmental toxins. That is a whole nother
That's
topic.
for a whole nother show.
Yeah. show. But I talk a little bit about it in the book.
Well, and you're so right about the fact that, you don't just get any disease overnight. It's like years in the making sometimes. And so we're not aware of it now we weren't aware of it before, but now we are because of people like you that are able to share that and bring more and more people into looking and thinking about what it is that they're eating now, especially if they're 40. Do you want to live to be 80? I mean, because 80 is the normal age now.
80 is the new 40, right?
80 is the new 40.
You make a really good point, Jill. I think you have to look to when you're going to be 65, 70, 80,
Right.
90, and how do you want to live
How do you
at that
wanna
point in
feel?
time? How do you want to
Right.
feel? And plan accordingly.
Correct.
So, people eat out, right? And
it's so
sometimes
bad.
it's unavoidable. So what would your tip be if you're eating out? What is the best thing to look for to eat so that it's somewhat not so toxic?
Well, if you could find one, I would recommend a restaurant that only serves non-GMO or organic food. That's a challenge, especially in Las Vegas. But I think if you eat, people talk about fruits and vegetables, whether you eat them organic or not organic. But the thing is eat more fruits and vegetables. So eating a good salad is always a good choice.
With non-white dressing, right?
Yes, vinegar and oil, balsamic vinegar. So sometimes balsamic vinegar can actually be a little bit too sweet for some people. but bring your own. I do. When I know I'm going out and I'm going to have a salad, I just make up a little bit of apple cider vinegar, olive oil, salt and pepper. Sometimes I throw in some Dijon mustard, and I carry that. And I know that it's something that I can eat and it's not going to sabotage my health. So the salad, avoid. I would say you have to be your own best judge for what's good for you, because what's good for me and healthy for me is not going to be good for you. And so you have to start paying attention to our symptoms. So whatever's going on in our body is talking to us. It's telling us through the way our skin feels, our hair, the nails, indigestion. All those things is our body talking to us something's going wrong. So if your body is saying you don't feel so good when you eat that, don't eat it.
Right.
That's the best thing.
There's a sign.
Right. So for the people that are watching that want to wake the health up,
Yeah.
so how can they get a hold of you?
DeVraBetts.com. It's DEV as in victory, RA, B as in boy, ETTS.com. Or you can call me at 702-232-8383.
Thank you so much, Deborah, for coming on the
Thank you
show.
for having me.
Thanks.
It's been nice.
It's always a joy.
Stay tuned for our next segment.